Alright guys, here we go. Here's my analysis for the Ngannou fight and my Bellator Grand Prix futures card. Alright, starting off with Ngannou. I will always take, when you're dealing with heavyweight strikers, my philosophy always is, with power punchers, guys that can end it with one shot, I always want the guy that throws first. This isn't featherweights where you have guys like Conor McGregor sitting back and waiting to counter. When one punch can end the fight at any moment, I want the guy that strikes first, not the counter striker. You're seeing guys that aren't really that skilled. You see guys like Derek Lewis. Guys that throw the first punch with power punchers are having success in the heavyweight division. Then you have the counter strikers that are more measured. Alistair Overeem, he just keeps getting clipped. And he doesn't have, in this sport, besides the fact that his chin has gone down a little bit, but in this sport, the guy that throws first is at a huge advantage. I think Ngannou's going to win this fight in the first round via KO. If it goes to the later rounds, obviously Stipe can win this. So check back for the parlay options. That is obviously the key. But I definitely think Ngannou gets a finish over here in the first round. All right, on to the Bellator. So first up we have Sonnen versus Rampage. This is a parlay staring you in the face if your book has that option. I strongly believe Chael Sonnen is going to win this fight. Rampage at heavyweight looks a little bit out of shape. I think those extra pounds are going to cost him. He didn't need that extra, against Chael Sonnen, he doesn't need that extra power. He can knock Chael Sonnen out as it is. But that extra weight is going to slow him down. Chael's going to be the faster guy there, and Chael's going to be able to take him down. So again, this fight is going to end one of two ways. Either Rampage is going to catch him and knock him out, or Chael's going to hold him down for 3 rounds and win a decision. Now, when one guy needs, I'll always take the higher percentages is always that the wrestler is going to win. The percentages just, when you're hoping for one shot, it's just not as high of a proposition that will happen. And especially when the guy that's looking to end the fight with one shot is a slower guy. He's just going to have a tougher time catching him. The reason why I'm not going so heavy on this parlay, although I do think this is a great play, is because this play actually ties in to my max bet for the future card. And that is Fedor Emelianenko at plus 650. Max bet whatever you can on it. Max out your books. There's unbelievable value over here. This is actually a plus 650 bet where, gun to my head, I actually would say that he's going to win this whole tournament. Now here are my reasons. Starting off is this fight with Frank Mir, which I think Fedor is an absolute lock to win. At this point in his career, the way to beat Fedor is to knock him out. His chin isn't what it once was, and one can only assume that his cardio isn't what it once was. Frank Mir, however, is coming off a 2-year layoff. Granted, he looks in great shape. These two guys are going to get into the middle of the octagon and they're going to slug it out. Frank Mir's boxing is just not up to par. He's, in this fight, going up against a guy like Fedor, who's so good in these wild exchanges. I see Frank Mir getting KO'd in the first round easily. The reason why I'm not taking Fedor via KO in that prop is because the odds are just basically the same. I couldn't shop around. I couldn't find good enough odds to warrant that. So if I had to bet this straight, I would just take Fedor. But Fedor's going to win this fight, and Fedor's going to knock him out. I don't think Frank is going to be able to take him down. Fedor has almost never gotten taken down in his career. I mean, you have to go all the way back to his Pride days when Mark Coleman, with his sneakers, took him down a little bit before getting finished. The only way he loses this fight, in my opinion, is if Frank Mir knocks him out. And that is the least of Frank Mir's skills. That's the lowest end of his skill set, is his striking ability. And Frank Mir does not have a chin anymore at this point in his career. He hasn't had it for a long time. I think even if he does tag Fedor, listen, is there a chance, a puncher's chance? Can he touch him and knock him out? Yes, Fedor's chin is not what it was. But Fedor can survive a shot from Frank Mir, I believe. I don't think Frank Mir can survive being touched by Fedor. And here's where my Sonnen my Chael Sonnen prediction comes into play for this prop. Because I believe that Sonnen is going to beat Rampage, Fedor just has the easiest end of the bracket. If I thought Mir would beat Fedor, I would play him for the future. If I thought Fedor would beat Mir, which is what I do, it's all Fedor. Fedor is going to be a -300 favorite versus Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen, again, like as I said, in this point of his career, the way to beat Fedor is to knock him out. Chael Sonnen doesn't have the knockout ability. Who has he slapped in his career? I firmly believe Chael will get slept by Fedor. Now, if it is Rampage, obviously the value disappears for the future. I still think Fedor would beat Rampage, but the value disappears. Then we have to wait for the finals. Now, depending on who Fedor hypothetically is going to face in the finals, depends a lot on how I'm going to play it. Let's go through all 4 options. If he faces Lawal, he's going to murder Lawal. Lawal has no chance. If he faces Nelson, I believe he'll murder Nelson. Nelson is a slow guy that just has the big right hand. Fedor's going to be is going to be conscious of that overhand right. And it's going to, I think that matchup would look similar to his fight with, what's his name, Monson, where he just kicked the legs, brutalized them, the occasional combination, stuffed all takedowns. Nelson is not quick enough to take Fedor down. He's not quick enough to catch him. I think Fedor will just dismantle him. And then we have the 2 toughest matchups. If it's a matchup like Frank Mir, it offers me a beautiful hedging opportunity. I'm sorry, Mitrione. If he faces Mitrione has one way to beat him, and he did beat him that way in the first time they fought. Fedor is better at every facet of the game. Fedor can take him down. Fedor has more ways to win. In the striking, it's 50-50. Whoever connects, you saw them both, you saw that double knockdown. Whoever connects is going to knock the other out. However, I will have an opportunity to hedge this with Mitrione via KO. Mitrione in the under rounds, whatever that parlay is going to work. So essentially, I'm getting a plus 650 bet, which I am convinced is going to win the first 2 fights. And it's just going to be up against Mitrione, where I have a beautiful hedging opportunity. The worst case scenario for us is probably Ryan Bader. Because if Ryan Bader gets all the way through and faces Fedor, then I probably would have wished that I just maxed this bet, just Fedor versus Mir straight up and versus Chael straight up. Because Ryan Bader is going to be a tough matchup. And even more than that, I'm afraid that he will just be prohibitive favorite. So I can see Ryan Bader being like a 2-to-1 favorite over Fedor, -180 in that range for sure. So if that's the case, it's just going to be tougher to hedge. However, we're getting a plus 650 fight, plus 650 price over here now. I will still, if that comes to pass, I'm just going to probably straight hedge with Ryan Bader, cut my profits down the middle, still turn a couple hundred units, and that's all she wrote. If you don't have this future prop, DM me. We'll go through the different ways to play this. You're going to play Fedor straight up. He's now underdog versus Frank Mir. That's an absolute lock. He's going to knock Mir out. And we can discuss all the options. All right, good luck. Let's cash.